Hi there, my name's Vince, I'm a composer, and in this video I wanted to share with you a conversation that I had with Richard Blake. He's an amazing trumpet player, we've known each other for many years, and he now works freelance, performing with orchestras like the London Symphony Orchestra and at the Royal Opera House here in London, and he's also a great teacher and arranger. And this is a conversation that we had just previous to a remote recording session that he was kind enough to do for me. I just thought that this conversation we had was filled with lots of really valuable nuggets about how best to write for trumpet, and I specifically asked him to kind of go through the score that I gave him piece by piece and just highlight anything that jumped out to him as a little bit ambiguous or a little bit unusual, and just kind of mine his years of experience reading scores and playing this kind of music. Rich very kindly gave me permission to share this recording, so thank you very much to Rich, and without further ado, here's the conversation. Should I just play it from the start and we can read through the score?
Yeah, sounds good.
I might just skip the bits where there's not loads going on. Oh, well, I'll just let it play through. It's probably easiest so you can hear it in context. You haven't got anything till bar 19, sorry.
This is my life, it's fine.
Here we go. It's all like quite sort of subtle arranging stuff, but it makes such a big difference, you know, having that little brass in there.
I like it, sort of Leroy Anderson vibes.
Totally.
Love it.
It's got a slightly softer edge to it because it's TV music, you know. The dream is to get a full live string band, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah, Spenny.
Oh, there's a pickup there. Sorry, I didn't write in the pickup.
All fine. Circle that. Lovely. Nice writing.
Thanks, man. I mean, it's quite by the book, but you know, with these things, I can feel when it feels a bit too rote, and when for me there's like enough of a twist on it that I'm still like interested in the piece. So, I mean, I'm quite like happy with where it is right now. It's obviously like the mock-up's still early days and stuff.
But like, there's a certain, the serious skill of craft that goes into.
I'm really trying to lean
into stuff.
That. Yeah, like it's old school arranging, man. I'm reading all the Nestico kind of stuff at the moment, trying to like just get my chops together. Like but yeah, I mean, on that note, I would love any like feedback on the trumpet score in terms of how I've like chosen to write the articulations and stuff, because it's a bit of guesswork still, you know, even at this, like, even though I've been doing it for a while.
Sure. Initially, so looking very start. It's quicker and easier to write those articulations if you just did tenuto and then one of those.
Okay.
Rather than
on both notes.
No. So if you want da da.
Oh yeah.
So then flat one and then that.
Oh, I see. Got it.
That's
So don't worry about like staccato and accent notes or articulation.
Staccato is sort of a slightly different. You end up with a slightly sort of straighter sound, as sort of a default for sort of big band reading and writing. Yeah, I'd say, yeah, that's your sort of standard long short. Would be tenuto and sort of what do you call that? It's not a marcato, but like it's a
yeah. Is that and then with combined with the staccato or no? Just that.
Don't even worry about the staccato.
Okay, right. Cool. Because it's implied, I guess, in the writing and stylistically.
For big band stuff, anything with the sort of upside down V, that's going to be short as default.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, it goes to show I haven't actually like read through that many big band scores. I mostly try and read orchestral stuff.
Yeah. Also, that particular because you want a bit of, even in sort of background stuff, you want a bit of teeth on the second one. That's where I'd have definitely have the upside down V. Then looking ahead to 34.
Oh, just quick question. Sorry to like.
Yeah. No, go for it.
Funny again. You know, the sort of the tasty thing that you can do with like subtle vibrato on those kinds of phrases, where you get a little bit of a kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, is that again something that's just sort of implied, and you wouldn't necessarily notate it, or something like this?
So listening to the track and looking at what you've written, I'd automatically give a little bit of sort of vib on the longer one, just because that's sort of that, I don't know, 40s, 50s.
Yeah.
That's just the style. If you did want an actual turn, I'd write that in.
Okay.
Do that.
Other sort of one of those loopy things.
Yeah, exactly. And sort of same with fall-offs. But yeah, as default, I think listening to this, once you're in that style, a bit of that sort of old school vib would happen automatically.
Awesome.
At 34, that like those staccatos make sense to me perfectly.
Okay. In that context.
Yes, because it's not that sort of short at the end of a phrase.
Yeah. They're kind of more just filler notes.
Yeah. And actually, 39, 41, same. It's just they're lightly filler ones. I guess it's that's just such a classic big band writing. It's always it's always tenuto and then always the.
All right, cool, nice to
know. So like 45. For me, like interpreting this, it's always a fun, or just trying to work out whether to go with the mock-up or whether to go with the dots.
Yeah.
Or both, or neither, or. So for me, you could phrase that either way, just that last note I'm looking at. If you like it long, I would have stuck a tenuto on that. Also just speeds up the reading process.
Yeah, so it's a little bit ambiguous, you're saying, that last crotchet, whether how long or short to play it.
Exactly, because it would sound cool.
I see. Yeah, probably I want a tenuto then, though.
Cool. So I just stick that on. Again, anything you can do to speed up the reading process.
You don't have your horn handy, do you? It might be useful.
Yes, of course. I haven't got mic set up, so this is just laptop mic, so it might sound absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
This is also, I got...
Ooh.
It's an old one of mine.
What's going on? It's like if you combine two instruments into one or something.
No, it's just an ancient one with different sort of different finishes, but it's called... It's a Benj Claude Gordon model.
All right.
Who was like one of the Hollywood studio guys in, I think, the 50s.
Oh, that's so good.
So that's probably the noise.
What?
Yeah. I bought it off a mate who's a trumpet player and makes microphones over in Belfast, a guy called Mike Barkley. And he loved it, but wanted to buy something else, so I managed to nab this off him.
How lovely. Just keep that thread going.
Let me play a few notes and see if... How's that coming across?
Oh, it's fine. I mean, it's Zoom, so like you'd expect it to be kind of trashy.
Yeah, exactly. One thing I did already clock is that the score, again, as default, is in concert pitch, but my parts are going to be...
Oh, yeah. So you should have parts in the PDF. They should be transposed.
Yeah, of course. Sometimes it's actually easier to give me the score in B flat as well.
Yeah. So in case you want to just read off the full score, I guess, to keep track of the different parts and how they work together, right? I can send you that as transposed easily enough if you like.
Cool. I mean, I'll probably record off the parts, so it's fine. But like in terms of sort of looking through an arrangement and
Yeah, no, that's true. I should have thought of that actually, because the whole reason I gave you the full score because I thought you might want to do that. So
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to see sort of where what's thick and what's thin and who's
yeah.
doubling what. Yeah, are there any of those phrasing you want to hear
Um,
at this point?
yeah, I guess in my head, 34. I was sort of slightly thinking of like a slight leap up to that E, sort of like lipping it up maybe.
Sort of like a slide or a smear?
Yeah, possibly rather than the grace note, but I guess it was hard to sort of hear it without hearing it on the instrument.
Yeah, of course. So
Oh yeah, that's what I want.
cool.
Yeah, because it's not too overbearing. I think sometimes when you program those sorts of things in with samples,
Ooh.
it's really like over the top, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so I'd probably just do the line up, even though Sibelius will play that horrifically.
Do you tend to go for like wiggly line or straight line for that type of thing?
Sort of depends how much space there is in the bar.
Okay.
Actually, sort of what's important for me is so it looks clear. So
Okay.
if there's loads going on, then actually the straight one's totally fine.
It's just
But if
easier
there's
to read.
space,
Right.
yeah, Wiggly's probably standard.
Yeah. So there isn't too much difference in terms of like how you interpret the wiggly.
No, I'd read it exactly the same.
Cool. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean you could write the word smear above it or half valve or something like that because that's basically what I'm doing.
Oh, so good. Just put some smile on my face. I love that sound.
And it's fun to play.
Cool. And then, I mean, I think unless just glancing through it, there's anything else to you that looks sort of a bit ambiguous. Maybe worth looking at the ending. I mean, not to suddenly force you to play like a high E flat out of completely nowhere, but
We'll see if it works. Same sort of slide up.
yeah, I guess so. Just kind of whatever feels right, I guess.
Morning.
Yeah. I mean, could you try like one where it's more of just like a like a
Yeah.
yeah, so I think probably
Or even less of a sort of
yeah, maybe even less. Cool. Yeah.
you could also
I mean, I think that would be nice for the top part. I think probably for the others, maybe I don't know, would it work to have like the lower voices a bit more clean and then just have that sort of slight rip on the last one, on the top one?
yeah,
A bit weird.
we can try either way. My default will be have everything because then it just sounds because it's as a section. You sort of if everyone's doing the same thing, you'll get sort of more of the
concern was
effect.
that it would just get a bit much in terms of like the cumulative effect of all of that. Like, whereas it wants to be quite tidy at the end.
Yeah, fair
And
enough.
again, it will be with cut mute, so it'll be relatively like it won't be quite so in your face, I feel.
Yeah, and to be honest, like most of the other parts, I think you'll only hear the top trumpet line. The rest of it is sort of will just add fatness, and the listener won't like you and I'll hear it, but the listener won't necessarily hear. Oh, there's 4 trumpets there.
All right, yeah. So let's put a smear on all of those,
Cool.
and kind of think about like having it sort of quite close to the second note, if that makes sense. So you get a decent sustain.
Yeah, so sort of late. In fact, you could write a tenuto on the bottom one, maybe,
Okay.
or just write late. Yeah, late rip or late smear or something like that.
Yeah, cool, man. Well, I'm happy if you are. Oh, I guess the only other slight question I had was whether you think that whether there was when you were listening to the mock-up, I don't know if you're paying attention to this, but whether you thought the dynamics that I'd written felt like appropriate to what I was trying to achieve.
Right.
With the cut mute specifically, because for example, at the end, I've written fortissimo or forte rather.
Forte, yeah.
Like I'm just trying to imagine like if this were a real live orchestral session, if there's anything that kind of jumps out to you as a bit off or odd in terms of those dynamic choices.
In some ways, when it's sort of interjections that actually you do want to hear, but you want it to be light, piano might be too quiet.
Okay.
In some ways, like also the sort of session guys would just automatically play it a bit louder.
Because they'll be listening to the balance a bit in the room, I guess, as they're playing.
Exactly, and there's something as well. There's a phrase from Jerry Hay, legendary horn arranger and studio legend, that is a scream turned down is still a scream, but a whisper turned up is still a whisper. So basically, if you play things with too little energy,
Right. Yes.
and they'll still sound a bit lame.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, you want to get the intention right in terms of like the approach, because of how different louder dynamics sound in terms of the intent, I guess.
Exactly. So like, actually, I'd probably MP.
Or are you
It's
just
sort of
saying this because you're a trumpet player and you always want to play loud?
no, I love playing quietly. It's not too quietly, but yeah, playing comfortably is lovely. But it's sort of the difference between whether it's or you sort of
You lose a lot of bite, don't you, when you go low dynamic?
That's the sort of thing.
And you want that breakup of the mute, because that's where all the deliciousness is.
Right? A little bit of splat and fire. I think again, if you had an orchestra in a room, one of the nice things is that actually most of the dynamics are worked out automatically. We're all balancing to each other, and you sort of take everything with a pinch of salt.
I would want a huge string section for this kind of piece as well.
Yeah.
So you just get that lushness, and so that like 4 trumpets isn't going to overpower the room or anything. Like,
yeah. But also, again, you've done it automatically. Sort of that, a good arrangement. You're never fighting each other either. Like everyone sort of got their different moment to shine, and strings do their sort of glorious warm buttery thing, or the soaring line, and we're the punctuation or the sort of shiver on top.
Yeah. Totally.
Other one you did mention at some point was different trumpets, different instruments for different lines.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes that helps stop sort of phasing and stuff like that. Sometimes actually, because it's the same player and even changing mouthpiece and stuff like that, because I've practiced trying to make everything sound the same, it'll still sound the same. So like that's why I know like Tom Walsh does lower lines on a flugel.
Right.
So it sounds slightly different, and it's sort of a different.
Oh yeah, yeah. You mentioned potentially doing that.
Obviously, that won't work with a cup, so I won't bother with that.
Yeah, yeah. So like, because I guess the cup kind of changes things a bit, doesn't it? As well. I mean,
yeah, like you can buy a flugel cup mute, but it's probably the wrong noise.
A flugel cup mute, yeah. It's like what's the word for that? Like a oxymoron or something.
Yeah. It just sounds wrong.
But I don't think there are any unison trumpet lines that are just playing a melody. It's all like 2-part or 4-part pretty much. So, or like single.
Nice. I'll probably do you a lead part and send it over.
Okay.
Just
like of the top line melody, you mean?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Check you like the phrasing and then fill it out.
Yeah, I mean, I can.
No, as in, sorry, I'll record you the top line.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. Just to get the sound quality and stuff, you mean? Yeah,
and phrasing. Before I sort of record the lower lines to bounce along with that.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah, cool, man. Sounds good. Yeah, all right. Well, I'll stand by for a couple of test recordings and stuff. And thanks so much, and thanks for taking the time to go through the score and stuff as well. That's actually, I sort of need to start getting you to do that for every piece we work on, because I think I've learned so much. There's so many things that I just still are kind of invisible when I'm like just trying to get sounds out of my head and onto the page. So
no worries. I find it interesting as well. I think my sort of rule of thumb as a sort of arranger and copyist from time to time is just look through the actual part and then try and see if everything sort of speaks how you want it as sort of default in your head as a run through. And if there's any, like, if you're any things of like not sure how to phrase automatically, then that's where I'd sort of try and clear things up.
That makes sense. I'm always aware of how much that there is that's kind of implicit in a part that's written by somebody who knows how an instrument works, like whether it's harp or whether it's percussion, or knowing what a player would naturally do is like, that's also the most fascinating stuff to learn about. So it's cool. Well, give me a shout if you need anything else, and I'll speak to you very soon.
Catch you shortly. Cheers, man. Bye.
So there we have it. I think you'll agree the recording sounds amazing and it really elevates the track, even in its kind of work in progress mock-up state. And there's so much more clarity to the ideas compared with the sampled trumpet version. There's just a lot more detail in there, a lot more crispness. And that all comes from Rich being super familiar with this style of music and having a clear idea of how it's supposed to be executed and articulated on his instrument. And of course, his years of training as a trumpet player. So thanks very much for tuning in. Just a reminder that I'm making all of these kinds of videos available as podcasts as well. So you can search for Vince Webb's Composing Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. But in the meantime, thank you very much for your attention, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care.